Hey everybody, welcome back to the Business and Beyond channel. I'm your host, Chris Doyle, and here today we're on episode 24 with Staceys Mack from Ohio Real Title. Stacy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So Stacy, we were talking a little bit before about the podcast. We're going to keep everything, very centric toward real estate, toward, title. A lot of people in our industry or outside of our industry really don't know what title is, when it comes to real estate transactions. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then you have some big news at the end of the podcast. So everyone stick around who's watching, because Stacy got some big news at the end of this.
I do.
So Stacy, let's talk about yourself. So, where are you from? Where did you grow up? And, how did you kind of get into the position you're at today?
Okay. Staceys Mack. I grew up in Vermilion, so the west side of Cleveland. I grew up on the water. My family owns a marina, so we're big into boating. So anything by the water to me is like kosher, like that's where I want to be. So yeah, it's fun. My whole family still lives there. So we still have the business. It's really busy. And so I love to ski. I love to wake surf. And like I said, anything on the water. It's great. It's fun.
So Vermilion, and then where are you? You're in Ohio Real Title in Cleveland, right?
I am, yes.
Gotcha.
Ohio Real Title in Cleveland. Yeah, I've been there for 10 years. This is my 10th year. Love it. Great owners, great company, everything I stand for. Great morale in the office. And yeah, we love it.
So, and you've been there for 10 years now. So you've seen, not even just the market itself, right? So we're in a pretty crazy market these days.
Yeah.
But you've held a couple different titles at Ohio Real, right? So you kind of know a lot of the ins and outs. But how did you get into, title?
Well, that's a funny question, because honestly, when I got into title, I didn't even know what the hell it was. I knew what real estate was. And it's funny because when people see real estate on Facebook, they just assume I'm a realtor, right? Because
sure.
At the end of the day, no one's like, oh, that's a title rep. So I knew the owners actually. Well, one of the owners at the time. I worked for his law firm years prior. And then I actually left for a different opportunity. And then I got a phone call from who's still the title manager, Michelle. She's the best. And she was like, would you ever consider coming back but working for Ohio Real Title instead of the law firm? And I was like, I'm always open to the conversation because I love everybody over there. And there's a lot of people that have been there since the start. So the longevity shows you what good of a company it is. I think, that's how it kind of went down, just like that, actually.
And how did you start off? What were you starting off in when you first started at Ohio Real?
So I actually started entry level. I started at, just inputting data and basically the service department. There really wasn't a department then. It was like one or two of us, but now we have a whole team. But yeah, that's basically how I started. And then just one day the owner was like, would you ever consider sales? And I was like, I don't know. And because I was just liking the routine of the, 8:30 to 5 every day. And then I did it and never turned back.
For people who are watching who don't know, so people can, like you said a little bit earlier, hey, people can kind of assume who's the real estate agent. Maybe they even know who a mortgage loan officer is.
Sure.
But sometimes there is the disconnection between title, right?
Sure.
So just what is title? What is necessary about title?
So it's kind of a broad question. So a title company is basically a disinterested third party handling all of the escrow funds throughout the transaction for all parties. So, when you're going through a transaction with the buyer and the seller, we're the one that's the neutral and handle everything, pay everything out. It's like I said, it's a broad question, but it's different in different states. We're a very title company driven state in Ohio. But you'll see if anybody ventures out, in real estate in other states, there's some states that are attorney driven. Like
New Jersey, New York.
Yeah. So attorneys actually close it. So for here, it's getting more known. And I do, seminars and classes especially for first time home buyers, because like you said, sometimes it's like, the agent will explain, well, what am I, this is how it's going on, like the purchase agreement. And then I'm going to give it to the title company. They're like, well, what's a title company?
Yeah.
So basically we're going to clear or make sure that everything's free and clear. So when the new buyer takes over the property, there's no liens, there's no forgery, there's nothing that happened in the chain of title prior.
Yeah. And that is super important when you're purchasing a home, right?
Super
because
important.
If the home was built maybe early 1900s, right?
Yes.
And there's a lien that nobody knows about, I mean, what happens in those situations?
Yeah. So, I mean, you want the examiner to obviously catch that, but that's what title insurance is for. So we can kind of, talk about that too. But yeah, I mean, we make mistakes and examiners are humans. And so, when they're examining the property, and I would say, knock on wood, I mean, it happens, but very few, very far and few between. But yeah, I mean, there could be a lien missed, and, if it's a $30,000 lien and the examiner misses it and then the buyer takes over the property, if they don't have title insurance, they now have a $30,000 lien that was not theirs to begin with, that they're responsible for.
100%.
Yeah.
And so title company, in my opinion, is, even though you're saying disinterested, right? But it is, you have to, whenever you're purchasing real estate in Ohio, you have to have a title company, right? Like, you don't have to have a loan originator. You don't have to have a real estate agent, but to, do like all of your transaction, like all your documents, right? You need a title agency.
Well, you can still have an attorney. I mean, I think any state you could have an attorney close things for you or escrow things. But yeah, I would say that, I mean, I would think over 90% of Ohio, uses a title company. That's just what we're used to. I mean, so we have an office in Columbus, and they do things a little differently. So Northeast Ohio is actually very unique, the way we do closings up here compared to the rest of the state. More a round table. We don't do round table up here. We do separate closings, right? Buyers sign separately than sellers. So it's just, I don't know, it's a little unique, but I like the way we do it up here. So I don't ever want to change that. But yeah, I mean, it's a little different.
And so when you started 10 years ago, how different is today's market as opposed to 10 years ago? Obviously, anybody in the real estate market right now is, there are 6 offers over, or, $60,000 over a listing price and everything. So, just kind of talk on that, like what your experience is right now in our market.
So I've seen so much. I mean, I wasn't there for the recession, so nothing like that. But I mean, the market's always been like a roller coaster, up and down. I would have to say for my business though, which has been great, and thankful for all of my clients throughout the years, I would say I've been pretty consistent. I've grown pretty much every year. This market, especially with COVID and everything, is very crazy because when it first happened, we as a company sat down and we're like, we don't know if we're going to be shut down. We don't know if we're going to have to not shut down as a company, but maybe because we have like 140 people in our company now.
Yeah.
So, it's like you talk about layoffs if that were to happen or whatever. It was very scary. And then all of a sudden real estate just took off. And so with the low inventory, this is probably the first time I've ever seen this low of inventory.
Sure.
I have seen, obviously, houses fly off the market when they come on, especially in certain areas. But I used to do a bunch of brokers opens, and, there would have been more. I mean, there still is open houses now, but brokers opens for me, for instance, we don't even do them anymore, really, because by the time we go to set one up, the house is sold. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing on my end as far as title and like going out there or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's been crazy.
So the brokers opens, like, when did that kind of turn? That was right at COVID?
I would say, a little before COVID, and then everything kind of just shut down. And then after that, nothing stays around. So,
and to your point, I talked to a lot of real estate agents who have been in the business for a while when they say, I kind of liked it when someone was wanting to enter the market. They didn't go look at a house first. We would do a buyer's guides, we do lender's guides, stuff like that, title guides and everything. And then maybe we'd schedule like a week out. Well, now it's like, hey, I found a house on Zillow. Can you take me at 6 o'clock today?
Yeah.
And if you can't, well, then I'm going to go find another real estate agent that can.
Yeah.
So a lot different than what it was, right?
It is. It's like the Hunger Games now. It's like, you have to be on your game and ready to go. I mean, especially for the realtor side, like you said, I mean, you get an appointment, you can get in that house. I mean, you have to drop everything and get in there, or it could be, the next offer that gets accepted.
Going more into title, because I did have a decent amount of questions about title in itself. Hopefully I can answer them. Yeah. So one thing that's kind of weird in Ohio, like a lot of people don't know about, is Dower rights.
Sure.
Right. I had a situation a couple years ago where I had a closing. It was in Toledo.
Okay.
Now the wife was out in, I think she was like Eastern Europe somewhere. Well, she wasn't able to make it to an embassy, and she had to go ahead and sign Dower rights off for the home, right? Well, they couldn't close on the home because she couldn't make it to an embassy on time.
Yeah.
And I got blamed for it, right? Well, in Ohio, we have what's called Dower rights when you purchase a home, when, obviously you have a spouse, right?
Yeah.
So for people who are listening, what are Dower rights, and why do we still have them?
God, I have the craziest stories about Dower rights in this title world. So in a nutshell, like you said, I mean, if you're married, the spouse has to sign off on the property. We could go on, but I've had instances where, a husband's going to just say, purchase a property and, act like he's not married. And the wife they haven't talked in 10 years and she's living in another state and doesn't know where she is. And they're legally not divorced. And we're like, well, you have to have your spouse there, so yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, I mean, and it's weird that every state's so different, but yeah, Ohio, you can't.
I think we're only like maybe 2 states out. I think there's only 2 states in the United States maybe that still have Dower. I could be wrong.
No, I don't know that.
But why do we still have Dower rights? Do you know?
I don't actually know that question.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's something that they had to protect when you're in a marriage, and you have to sign off.
Okay.
Same thing if you have a partner in an LLC. I mean, if there's a sole member that has the authorization to sign on behalf of the LLC, then they can sign for everybody. Mm-hmm. But if the paperwork doesn't say that, then every member of the LLC has to sign. It's the same situation.
And that's a good segue. So when you were talking about LLCs, right? I've seen a lot more, and this is, just the market all across the United States. Like I'm licensed in 18 or 19 states in the U.S., and it's just like every major city, right? But it seems like Cleveland in itself, like Parma area, right? A lot of out-of-state investors coming in and buying up these houses.
Yes.
Right. So have you seen that a lot, where a lot of these out-of-state investors are coming in and buying up these single family homes?
A ton. I work with a ton of out of state. We have out of country.
Out of country?
We've worked
really?
with out of country investors. More out of state than out of country, but we've definitely had some out of country. A lot buying I've seen in the opportunity zones. So there's some on the east side, west side, south. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when you find these investors that are out of, say, California, Ohio is nothing to them, right? I mean, as far as price points go, I mean, their average sale price out there is what compared to here?
Yeah.
So they're just eating all this up like, oh my God. So when the market, really turns or whatever, they're like, they're holding on to it.
So why do you see it? Like, is it just because a lot of these higher cost areas just have so much equity and they're able to go ahead and, like you said, a house out in Orange County, California, may be $1 million. They have $500,000 in equity. They'll take out $100,000 HELOC and buy a $100,000 home in Slavic Village for all cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely different scenarios for each investor. Some roll it in, when they close on a property and they make a good amount of money, they roll it into another one or to several to, for tax purposes and everything else. They'll do 1031 exchanges, and there's all kinds of scenarios. But I would say that I've always worked with investors through the years, but this has definitely been the last probably 2 years, probably since COVID. I mean, you see every market's been crazy. Boating's been crazy, bikes, RVs, houses. I mean, it's every industry, I feel like right now for the most part has been really taken off. So yeah, I think these investors that maybe were sitting on some money were like, okay, now's the time. Let's go buy up Ohio. And I'm sure I would think other Midwest states maybe the same. I don't know. And
so I'm interested, you said you facilitate a lot of out of country.
Yeah.
What where are they usually from?
It varies.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done so many different ones. And like you said, U.S. Embassy, every country is a little bit different on closings. Some you just need an American notary. Some you have to go to the embassy. Some you have to go to Apostle. I mean, it just depends on how, they work as a country.
So from what I understand, it's not just one they're buying. They're buying portfolios, right, of single family homes more often than, or, big apartment complexes, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another case-by-case scenario. I mean, some of the big-time, investors, of course, they're buying up, the high-end apartment buildings and stuff like that. But some are just buying single-family homes, either by the bundle or just individually.
Do you see any issues with that? I mean, I only say that because how is a, let's say, 28, 29-year-old couple, right? They maybe just got married. They're paying off their student loans. They're doing everything right in life, and they just want to go buy their first home.
Yeah, right.
How are they going to compete with the country? Like a Canadian company who's buying up single-family homes, for example. Do you see an issue with that, or?
I haven't. I mean, I can't tell you that every obviously transaction that's happened, I don't know what the offer situation was. Was it, like you said, a couple versus an investor coming in? Obviously, cash is king. We all know that. Hate to say that. Being in a loan, being here. But it is. I mean, I'm sure. But in this market, I really don't know if that matters, because I think the biggest thing, and maybe you know this more on the mortgage side, it's the appraisal and then what someone's willing to pay cash-wise on top of that. So, are they bringing $60,000 cash to closing just to get the house?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really it. I don't even know if it's really cash versus mortgage anymore. I don't know. I mean, with rates going up, maybe it's going to be different. But before, cash was always king, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So at least when a real estate agency, they see a list of different offers on the table, and they see like 2 cash, conventional, FHA, VA are always kind of at the back burner, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I don't know, have you seen a lot of FHA loans going through, getting through the cracks lately, or are you mostly writing cash conventional?
Me not really physically being in the offices as much. I mean, I see the transactions coming through. I don't really have a ratio as far as that goes. I think I'm seeing a bunch of everything. I mean,
Really?
We're still seeing VA. I have a couple agents that strictly work with VA accounts.
Really?
For their buyers. I don't know. I would say more I guess I would turn that around and see what you think you see more of. Honestly, do you see more FHA? Or?
I'm not. I mean, I'm seeing mostly conventional, even if rates are going up these days, right? Because it's not news. The Federal Reserve, they're meeting in May, this month, and then again in June, probably to raise, 0.5% over the next, I think they're raising 0.5% this month and maybe another one the next month, right? Well, if you're a cash buyer, what do you care?
Well,
you know what I mean? You don't care. The interest rate could be 10%. You're just going to pay cash for everything anyway.
Exactly. That's where the cash comes in as king. They're not worried about it. They're still going to, where some of these buyers might hold off, right? If they have to go, if they're going to go through a mortgage company. But let's be real. I mean, I know it scares everybody because they got so historically low because of COVID, but let's talk about how they're still historically low.
Absolutely.
Even if they go up another, percent. I mean, we don't want to see them keep growing, but back in the day, what were they paying? 12%, 15%. So I don't think it should scare buyers into not buying. Yeah. Even if you buy at 6%, of course, however many months ago it was 3%. So I get that. But do you want to wait again and it go up to 8%? I mean, I don't think that should scare anybody right now in buying.
Exactly, especially when you see purchase prices continuing to climb. Yeah. I mean, if you were looking at, closing disclosure from 12 or 24 months ago, I mean, that the same house now, if you sold it, is what, 20-30% higher in terms of the purchase price. So everyone's equity rich, right? So, I'm going to hold off until maybe the interest rates fall, or wait until the interest rate or purchase prices dip. Right. Well, now you're just, you lost out on so much equity. So why wait? Why keep paying rent as rent keeps going up?
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree completely.
Going back to you now.
Oh boy.
What's in store? So I know you have some big goals coming up and everything, right? Mm-hmm. So in your sales and marketing position now, executive, right, position.
I don't know about that.
I had to throw it in there. But so what is your just kind of day-to-day like in general?
So right now, I mean, I've always been big. I'm always prospecting, obviously, no matter what. That's sales 101. But my relationships are so important to me. I mean, there's people that I've worked with for the last 10 years, and I never want to let those go. I would never put those to the wayside, because I want new business and more money. That's never been my thing. Of course, you're always, you always have goals and everything, and you always want to keep going up the ladder. But I think mine's really maintaining relationships. Retention's huge, especially in this business, because when the market does go like this, those agents that are producing, you still want to keep all of the same agents and people that are with you. And I don't know, I always been big on relationships.
Do you have any good sales advice?
Oh, Lord. Be yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't give any gimmicks. I'm not I'm not going to tell you something just to have you sign a paper or, work with me. I want you to feel comfortable. There's no pressure. This is what I put it out the table. This is how our company works. This is what it is. That's always worked well for me, because I think being yourself, especially in this day and age, especially in this day and age, you have to be yourself. And I'll never be anything different. I mean, I don't even know how to act any different. You know, I'm so real. It's
Yeah.
just like, this is what it is. Like, what's up? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously professional, but I greet a client. I'm not like, and this is what it is. I'm just like, hey, what's up? Like,
Yeah.
how are you? What's life? How's it like? You know, just talking to you like I would if you were my friend or my sister.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays, especially being in sales, like if you try and do a sales pitch to somebody, they can definitely see, nobody wants to be sold, you know, they
Yes.
just want to be taken care of.
Right.
And I think obviously that's kind of what you're trying to pitch,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, however, there might be people that are pitchy out there and it works for them. I think everybody's personalities are different too, obviously. It just always worked for me that way. And I just will always continue to be that way. And I also think stepping out of your comfort zone.
Sure.
You know, it's really funny because I look at myself like, everyone's like, oh, Stacey Mack's so outgoing. But I feel like I'm kind of one of those introvert, extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
I have my days where I like to just be home in my pajamas, on the couch, not talk to anybody. And I have my days when I'm on and I'm like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I hate attention on me. So like, this isn't as bad, but like public speaking in front of a bunch of people, which I do, obviously.
Yeah.
I talk in front of a bunch of agents all the time. I don't care how long I've been doing it. That's still not super comfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it, but it's part of my job. And so I just think being comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing in sales too, especially, you know, when I first entered my industry, right, as a loan originator, everything's phone sales.
Yes.
And when I was a child, I hated picking up. If someone called in,
Yeah.
was when you still had home phones,
Sure.
right? And someone would call the home phone. I would always avoid it and just give it to my parents. Like, I don't want to answer it.
Yeah.
Now I find myself it's all phone sales, right? So again, to your point, you know, be comfortable being uncomfortable with all these
Yes.
situations. That's huge in sales, right?
And I think a lot of people don't do that. And I get it. I mean, a lot of people stay where they're at because they're comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, I think if you ever want to grow and continue to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. I mean, that's just part of life. And it can be in different aspects. Maybe not even just professionally. It could be personally. I mean, it could be a lot of things. Yeah.
Have you I know you said the relationship building is huge.
Yes.
Right. So has that been something that you've always kind of harped on since you started your position, or is that something you had to learn from a mentor, or something you've always just kind of understood?
I think I've just always been that way. I think for me, I always say like my work ethic and everything I think for myself was growing up in my family business. Watching how my family interacts with customers. I mean, they have a 400 slip marina. So
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's tons of customers and customer service. I mean, that's really where I feel like I got most of like how I am today. And of course, just picking it up from the everyday, you know, but, and yeah, I've definitely had people that are role models and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think really it's just how I was raised.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, as we start to wrap up here, Stacey, I know
Sure.
that you had a little bit of big news that maybe you wanted to let your people know.
Sure, yeah. So being with the company 10 years, we decided to open our doors in Naples, Florida. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yay. So we're really excited. So we're going to be servicing all of Florida now. Focusing right now a lot on the Southwest portion, but we can close anywhere in Florida. And so we're really excited. And so I just recently got the opportunity to go down there and grow it as well.
Congrats.
So
That's
I will
cool.
I'm still going to be a Clevelander through and through, but I will be going more like back and forth. I'll still have all my Cleveland people, and then I will be able to have the opportunity to be a Floridian as well. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Leaving the winter months.
Yes, hey, and I am not mad about it. I mean, I'll still be back and forth. It's such a quick, easy flight, but yeah, so I'm really excited for the opportunity.
Very cool, Stacey.
Yeah.
Well, hey, as we end here, just any general life advice, business advice, anything that you really hold near and dear to your heart that you think someone should hear.
Oh my gosh, I have so many. If I would have known, I would have had a whole list. I'm all about the motivational things.
We'll do another podcast.
Yeah,
but-
that'll be a different one. I think just empowering people. I think being a good example. There's so much negativity in this world, and life gets really hard for everybody. Mm-hmm. We all have our things that we're dealing with. I think being kind. Be very kind. And I'm talking not just professional, but personal. And on the other end of that, if someone's being unkind to you, just know that they're probably going through something and don't know how to I shouldn't say internalize, because you never want to internalize, but they don't know how to handle it at that time. Mm-hmm. So I just think being kind to everybody, and yeah,
Love
be
it.
happy.
Love it. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, that was episode 24 with Stacey Mack.
Awesome. Thank you.